group Conservative Republic Alliance. He also started a political-based YouTube channel with over 11,000 subscribers. He hopes his commentary will be able to reach a whole new generation of independent-minded individuals in hopes of having them think about considering becoming a conservative Republican. I give you Chris Wright.
Thank you.
Guys, just last call for the 50-50. Just so you know.
Yeah, so first and foremost, let's thank everybody here at the Whitestone Republican Club for coming out this evening. Very well appreciated. And I want to thank Vicky Palladino as well for, getting me out here to don't do me too many public speaking events, so forgive the index cards, so to make sure I get everything out. But where do I begin? Well, I was born on a military base in Hinesville, Georgia. A little backstory to a retired Army Major father, Russell Lee Wright, and my mother, Deborah K. Wright, as well. Stay-at-home mom until I was 13, great woman. Also, older sister, Cynthia Wright. My childhood started off, we moved around a lot, being military brats. So we were in Alabama, Kentucky, Mississippi. I don't remember none of it, of course. I was not that age, but I remember stuff. But then we moved to Europe in 1986. We lived in Germany for 5 years. There was two military bases we were stationed at, one in Baumholder and one in Mannheim. So I grew up, just loving the country of, Germany. I was too young to really understand what the details of what was going on. I thought it was, all America, U.S. base, had the PX right down the road, just an amazing country. My neighbors had neighbors who were Hispanic, Vietnamese, Asian, like all races and cultures. So I grew up around a lot of different races and cultures. So I grew up pretty much thinking about content and character and not looking at skin color, So I really loved the country. I went to Holland, I went to Paris, went to visit Rome, so much stuff, the best chocolates and cheeses in the world too, by the way. Very amazing. So when 5 years in, right before we got stationed back to the States, we got to see an historical moment in world history, which is seeing the Berlin Wall fall. So, wow, just amazing experience. It was my first time seeing freedom in my life. It wasn't freedom, of course, in the United States, but it was freedom that everybody around the world can relate to. I mean, families that were decades apart coming together for the first time. It was amazing. My dad still has pieces from the wall at his house, and it was an experience I'll never forget. So we moved to the States in 1991. We moved to military base Fort Meade in Maryland. So we were stationed there. Grew up most of my life in Maryland, 18 years. A lot of my childhood friends, still to this day, ones haven't fallen off because of Trump, but the ones that are still friends, they back in the day, they remember me coming off the plane, asking them like, "Hey, you guys got castles out here?" And they're like, "What? You got White Castle?" Like, we got castles. So it was very, to this day, they still crack jokes to me from time to time. But I grew up in a household, in a very blue state, as you know, Maryland just as blue as New York. It can be proof. My parents were Democrats, relatives, aunts, uncles, friends, my friends' parents. So I heard a lot about Democratic Party, but one thing my parents did when I turned 18, they registered me to vote the day I turned 18. They said, I asked them, well, who are you guys? Are you guys, Democrats? Because back then I really looked at politics that deep. And they were like, we're not going to tell you, that's just for us to know, but, you got to choose who you feel is the right person to choose. So even though they were Democrats, they emphasized the importance of option and choosing. So that's what I did. So as time went by, I eventually got to the point where I moved down to Georgia. Went to Marietta, Georgia for a bit. Family's from Georgia. My mom's side is from Columbus, dad's side is from Macon. So I moved down there and I was down there for 5 years. And as you know, Georgia's very red, very. And I was a cable guy for Comcast for those 5 years. And I had a lot of experience where I got to meet different people in different areas and see, different homes and all kinds of stuff. And I remember there was a customer one time where he came to the door, and this is what, I guess the stereotypical, evil Republican, he's a racist, that whole thing. Guy strangling hair, Budweiser can all over the place, Confederate flags hanging up, the whole nine. I was like, whoa, what house did I walk into? Like, what's going on here? And I was just thinking, okay, the faster I can get this job done, the faster I can get the heck out of here, I can just move on. So, I started working. The guy had a bad TV with his box, and I went to check his signal, and he had bad signal, and the signal was going throughout this whole house. He had weak signal, so he needed a whole new line, what we call drop, to the house. So I went out in Georgia's sun, so I put my ladder up there, started running a new line, doing all this work, and he was watching me. He was like, man, he's like, I thought you just had to come in here and change the box out. I didn't know you had to go take the ladder and run a new line. He's like, look, if you need anything, I'm gonna get you some food and something to drink. Just keep working hard and you'll be good to go. And I was like, oh, okay, all right. All right. So I kept working. He brought something to eat, something to drink as well. And then we started talking. And it started off with a little bit of small talk. And then we got deeper into conversation. We talked about everything from politics to sports to movies, everything. We were just talking a lot of topics. And something I noticed when I was younger as well is when I would talk to people who were conservatives, when I was even a kid, when it came to politics, they never gave me a hard time. They would just, hear what my position was. Like, I'll tell them I was Democrat. They're like, oh boy, you're still young, But it was never nothing personal, So when I spoke with them, we started talking, and this is about like 2 weeks after Obama got elected. I was walking back to my van to go back to the next job, and right before I did that, he's young man, can I ask you one question real quick? I said, yeah, or a couple questions. Like, sure. He's like, who'd you vote for in the last election? And we kind of looked at each other like, come on, man. And he was like, oh, okay, I understand. First black president of the United States. He's great, seems like a great, nice man. Hope he does a good job. Because if he does a good job, the country's going to do well. And when he said that, it kind of like caught me off guard. I was like, aren't you the enemy? Like, you don't want the president to do well. But when I thought about it, I was like, well, it makes sense, So he just asked me, let me ask you a few more questions, so you can go about your way. I said, sure. He's like, do you believe in a small government? Yes. Do you believe in old school traditional family values? Yes. Do you believe in Christian, like strong Christian nation? Yes. And he was just going down a checklist, like boom, boom, boom. And I was just like, yes. And he was like, you know what that was? And I said, no clue, sir. He's like, that was conservatism. And I was like, oh, okay, all right. He's like, you're a young man right now, but you're very well-spoken, intelligent. I have a feeling when you get a little bit older, you might consider conservatism. And when that day comes, remember this conversation we had. And I was just kind of like, rolled my eyes. So, it was something I was like, okay, as time went by, I was, yes, we can. President Obama, I campaigned for the man as well before he got elected. Went door to door for him, got a bunch of votes for him. I thought we were going to change the world with Obama, Yeah. Here comes reality. Boom. Here's a Trump train. But, so as time went by, I kind of saw Obama wasn't the man he's kind of said he was. He was, all these promises he made, he wasn't keeping up with them. The whole, you can keep your doctor when it came to health insurance thing, that wouldn't happen. And I saw a lot of friends and family members who didn't keep their doctor, So I was like, wow, okay. So I just saw things, I was like, he's articulate, but he doesn't always tell the truth. And so, so I open-minded, 4 years, 2012, I said, you know what, I'm not gonna be like, like I was when I was younger. Obama, it changed, yes we can. I was like, let me see who's the other options are. So when I looked around at both sides, who caught my attention more than anybody was two gentlemen. There was a guy named Ron Paul, and there was a gentleman named Herman Cain. So, but what I noticed was at that point is I figured out there's another entity we gotta pay attention to, and that is the mainstream media. And I call them lamestream media, but don't we go there right now. So I saw with Ron Paul what happened. I believe he won in the primaries. He won the state of Iowa, and he was about to become he was the forefront person in the Republican primary. So I was like, okay, all right, Ron Paul. And what the media did with him was, every time they went to his state after that, it doesn't matter what place he came in from first to last, when they got to his name, all they didn't say his name. So they'll say, he was number one, and they'll be quiet. Number two, Herman Cain. Number three, Mitt Romney. And I was like, they're not even saying the man's name. I'm like, that's crazy. I'm like, win or lose, hate him or love him, whatever. He won fair and square. At least give him the credit to say his name to the people. So I thought there's no way that, even though it was stupid, there was no way he was going to mess up this man's chance. But it did. He just slowly, from that point on, just deteriorated and fell away. And I watched it, and I was like, wow, the media did that. That wasn't the people, that was the media. That's a problem. And so, I, kind of kept my stride going. I said, well, who else? I said, I like Herman Cain, what do you have to say? And, you know, the 99.99, you know, and being a businessman was very important because the economy was just going downhill, the slowest GDP growth in American history under Obama. So I was just ready, like, let's get some jobs in this country. And he was speaking that business sense, like, you know, and he wasn't the most articulate person or, you know, said the biggest words when he spoke. He just was straight to the point. Here it is, take it or leave it. So I respected that about him. And what they did with him was a earlier Me Too movement kind of thing, where all these like mistresses started popping out of nowhere, and oh, you slept with me back in 1969, and oh, 1981. Like, you know, you've been this long to come out? You know, this guy runs for the primary to say this? You know, give me a break.
It's happening again because President Trump wants to put him on the Federal Reserve Board, and they're after him already.
Yeah, you see it. He's already out after him. And I respect Trump for putting him out there. I'm like, thank you, Trump, for sticking with this man, knowing what
Absolutely.
you know, this BS a lot of the mainstream media does.
Talking about him today, Trump.
Yeah, he's a great man. Like I said, he would have been the first candidate I voted for.
I liked him.
Yeah, you know.
He's
Yeah,
got
Herman
to
Cain
show
was a
him
good,
something.
yeah, good man. And so when I saw what they did, the whole, you know, all, you know, women started coming out, and Herman Cain just backed away and said, you know, okay, I'm done. I'm out of here. He dropped out of the race. And I felt like he didn't drop out because he was guilty. He dropped out because he ran a business that was successful. He's like, if I stick it out and fight these charges over and over again, win or lose, it more likely is going to affect my business. And if he loses, oh boy, you get, you know, now you're really affected. So he just backed out, you know, did what he had to do. So, you know, we got Mitt Romney. And, you know, Mitt, wet noodle, yeah, that's the perfect definition right there. That's about it. And so he was, you know, me being, you know, first time considered going Republican, that's not the candidate that was going to pull me over to the side for the first time. He just wasn't. He was stiff. You know, he was just boring. I don't know how else to put it, you know. And, you know, so it wasn't nothing about him that made me say, yes, let me go vote for Republican for the first time in my life. Mitt Romney, no. So, so I ended up, you know, voting Obama again. You know, so, yeah, I know. Go ahead and boo, you want to let it all out. I'm booing myself many times, okay? You can't beat me up worse than I have. All right, so we got 8 years of Obama, which brought in, you know, the Russian uranium deal. We got the $150 billion trying to sign the bill to Iran, you know, and then still snuck almost $2 billion over to him behind people's backs. And then, of course, you got him trying to get men in the ladies' room. You got, oh my goodness, I can go on and on and on and on and on. I'm like, well, you did not say that in '08 in Yes We Can speeches, man. Like, what is this stuff? This is all this crazy Obama's, you know, so whatever. So after Obama, I was fed up with the left. I was fed up with the Democratic Party. I was done. And the 2016 election came, and the candidate that caught my attention quick, fast, in a heartbeat. As soon as he said his name, I was like, boom, I'm going. Dr. Ben Carson. Yes, great man. I grew up, brain surgeon, learned a lot about Dr. Ben Carson when I was younger. My father, he used Seventh-day Events like Dr. Ben Carson. He's a pastor now. He met him 3 times when I was younger. He gave me the book, his biography, Gifted Hands, which was an amazing book. And he gave me that book at like the comic age range, where it was like comic books only, like, you know. So I was like, what is this? And he's like, but he was trying to show me you can be a young black man in this country and be successful. You don't have to be a rapper, you don't have to be an actor, you don't have to, you know, the stereotypical things, sports, you don't gotta do that. You can be successful and just use your mind.
Anywhere.
Yes, anywhere. And so when I read Gifted Hands, it just like sucked me in. Like I was like, whoa, this is you know, you can't talk about from the bottom to the top. I mean, this guy had a rough childhood. His mom couldn't even read, but she made sure he could read. And I mean, come on, this guy was an amazing man. And, almost got stabbed when he was younger. His belt buckle saved him pretty much, thank goodness. Like, you know, the first neurosurgeon to ever separate Siamese twins from the brain in world history. So, you know, so when they call this guy slow, it really, okay. So, but, you know, so this great, amazing man, and I learned so much just following him and learning about him and his teachings. And so when he ran, I became Dr. Ben Carson all day long. I was, you know, went online, went on social media, and I, you know, told family and friends, I'm going to go for Dr. Ben Carson. They were like, okay, like, that means you're a Republican now? Like, what? Hold on. Like, he's okay, but but the party he's with, are you nuts? So, you know, I debated some people on the subject. You know, I grew up in Maryland. All my childhood friends, most family were, you know, diehard Democrats. So, you know, I debated, but as time went by, I saw the entity come back in. That was my problem in 2012, and that was the mainstream media again. They came in, and what they did with Dr. Ben Carson was he sat down with, when he was younger, he sat down with administration and spoke with them and said, you know, they were considering him to come to West Point. And he said, no, I'm not gonna go to West Point. Main reason, not because it's a bad school, it's a military college. If I graduate, I gotta spend 2 years in the military after I graduate. I'd rather go to medical school, so when I graduate, I can just go straight to being a doctor. Right. So, you know, no disrespect on either side, it just made sense for both ends just to say, okay, no thank you. So that was it. He didn't say anything else, but what the media did was they went back and they looked and said, oh, well, we have no paperwork confirming that he got accepted into West Point and da-da-da-da. And it's like he never said he got accepted to West Point. He just said he talked with people that were like administration from the school. That's it. So what the media ran with, oh, he lied, he's a liar, he never got accepted to West Point, you gonna trust this guy? The whole nine. So I saw Dr. Ben Carson come out on an interview and he just flipped out. Like I've never seen this man this angry before. And he was just like, you know, of course not cursing, but still yelling and coming straight at the media. And I was like, whoa, like, okay, calm down, you know, Dr. Ben Carson, like, but I could tell he was very upset. But what happened was the media did his damage and the people started to listen to what the media said and his poll numbers started to decrease. And this is at this time, he was leading all the candidates at this time. So what happened after that was I looked and said, okay, now Dr. Ben Carson's not running, you know, who else is there to vote for? You know, and then there's a gentleman by the name of Donald J. Trump who stepped up to the plate, you know. And when he stepped up, I saw what he was doing to the media, and he was ripping them apart. Yeah. And I was like, whoa, man, like, you know, I didn't know politicians can even do this. Like, this guy, you know, he's not a politician. And so he just really just tore them apart. So I said, okay, I was like, Donald J. Trump, I was like, let me see what you're talking about. If you impressed me with the media, you know, I like how you did with them, but what is your policies? Like, I just honestly thought, I always liked Donald J. Trump, you know, I thought he was cool when I was younger, you know, the cool billionaire type, you know, all the black rappers were the black Trump, you know, Trump was cool. You know, there's no, now when he ran against Hillary, he became Hitler, so I was like, what the heck? But before, that's just crazy to me. But when I saw him, you know, I said, okay, I thought when he was running, he was just put the Trump brand out there, you know, hey, put on the resume, hey, I ran for president, you know, vote, you know, buy my steaks, you know. So, you know, Trump, you know, I thought it was that kind of thing. So when I saw, you know, how he handled the media, I said, let me see his policies. So I looked at his policies. You know, he was doing border security, you know, talking about the travel ban, you know, the trade tariffs that got to be worked on with China. I mean, this guy was just going down a checklist, man, of everything I was like looking at that point in my life. And I'm like, wow, Donald Trump is a good candidate. Like, he's really, and the way he handled Jeb Bush, you know, of course, had me laughing too. Yeah, exactly. You know, because it's Jeb without the exclamation point, it's Jeb. But, you know, it was, you know, so I was like, okay. So I looked at I started watching his rallies. And I was watching his rallies. This guy was, you know, filling out stadiums, man. People were coming out from all around the country to see him speak. And what he was saying in the campaign, when he was debating, was he was saying in his rally speeches. And if you look on YouTube, you go back to his speeches all the way back to the 80s when he was speaking. He spoke the same, man, when it came to what he believes in and what he'll fight for. And even if you look at the one back in the early 80s we did with Oprah, amazing interview. I recommend if you haven't seen it to see it. And this is probably like in 1981. He's young, still, you know, doing real estate in Manhattan. And he was just, you know, Oprah went down like a political checklist in a way to see if he knew his stuff, and he just knocked it out the park. And at the very end, she was just like, are you considering running? And he said, I don't want to, look, he's like, I don't want to run. He's like, for one, the paycheck's not good enough. And I was like, wow. And he said, two, he's like, I'm not saying I'll never ever run. He said, things ever got bad enough, I would consider running. And then it flipped me to the current time, that current time, 2016. I said, I guess, looking at the 8 years of Obama, we're at that time. Yeah. So I was like, all right, let me go ahead. I'm going to support Trump. You know, went on social media, you know, because a lot of my friends and family on social media, because me being in New York, I'm the only one other than my sister who lives here. So a lot of connections were via social media at that time. So I went on social media and announced, hey, I'm going to support Donald Trump. And you would think a nuke went off. It was just like, boom, like, what? You know, aunts, uncles, your great uncles, like people relatives I don't even remember, you know. What are you nuts? Are you crazy? He's racist, all this stuff, man. And they were even saying stuff towards me, like belittling my character almost, and just taking personal shots. And I was just sitting back, like at first, like, what is going on? And my good friend Doug calls me up, and he's like, "Bro, are you not going to respond to anybody? Are you going to say anything? Are you going to defend yourself?" And like, So I was like, "Yeah, you're right." So I just started speaking up. I started hitting them with, history lessons, facts, evidence. I always do my research. So I was just, sorry aunts and uncles, people, I have respect for. I had to school them. And, so I did a lot of that going on. A lot of people unfriended me after that, unfortunately. So, I got family members to this day that don't talk to me anymore. And so, it was pretty nasty. So after it was all said and done, we all know the election happened. They made the, in October 2016, they made the announcement, Donald Trump would be the president of the United States. And they didn't make the announcement like 3:30 in the morning. Like they finally said it. But, I was just so happy because I knew Crooked Hillary had so much evil agenda she wanted to push if she was elected, that I was like, thank God this man won. Because, World War III. World War III for sure. So, okay. Yeah, sure. Yeah.